Hello, welcome to the iTNet Tech Update. This month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So in honor of the season, we're giving you tips and tricks on how to avoid spooky hackers. Today I'm going to talk to you about ring fencing, what that means and how it can help your business with cybersecurity. So stay tuned for information on that. Hello, I'm Michael Kanet, CEO and founder of iTernal Networks. And every Friday at 1 p.m. on our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and my personal LinkedIn, we discuss the latest tech and cybersecurity news that may affect your business. At the end of our live session, I'll also be answering questions from the audience. So if you have any tech, cybersecurity related questions, get them ready because I'll be covering them at the end of this live stream. To start off with, I'd like to talk about a couple of news topics. So first off, with the midterm elections coming up here next month, yesterday the FBI warned of disinformation threats. They're expecting and starting to see this. Outside actors from foreign countries, foreign governments, hacker organizations, criminal organizations are using disinformation attacks to try to affect the midterm election. So just, FBI is making us aware it's going to happen. It's happened in the past. It is happening. Make sure you're using trusted media sources for your election related media coverage. I will leave that up to you to decide who the trusted media sources are. I know that can be a pretty hot debate, regardless of which side of the political aisle you may sit on. All right, the other news, IT professionals have said that business VPN attacks are on the rise. So according to a recent VPN risk report that was carried out by cybersecurity insiders and a company Zscaler, they found that 44% of cybersecurity professionals have witnessed an increase in targeted exploits of their VPNs. And 61% of the companies surveyed had 3 or more VPN gateways, and 38%, that's a large number, had more than 5 VPN gateways. Right? And the more VPN gateways you have, the more expensive and complex your network architecture is. And this survey that I mentioned also found that 71% of cybersecurity professionals are concerned that a VPN can jeopardize the ability for them to keep an environment secure. Now, this is interesting because just a couple of years ago, we would have said, oh, the best way to secure it is to use VPN. Well, now we're finding that VPNs are a target. They're not as secure as we once thought they were. So there's other, zero trust networking access. We've talked about that in the past that are a little bit more secure, a little bit newer, a little bit easier to replace those insecure VPNs. All right, next up, this is our main discussion, right? So what is ring fencing? And why should you care about it, right? So ring fencing is how do I explain this in a non-super technical term? Basically, ring fencing is a technique that allows your IT security team to go beyond permitting just which programs can run. So one of the things that we've talked about, it's one of the CIS controls in the past, is application whitelisting. So basically it's saying like what programs are allowed to run and what programs are allowed to run as an administrator. So a lot of companies have specific programs that just won't function properly unless they run with admin access on the computer. And so companies have to have techniques and methods to be able to approve those to be run as an administrator, even though the user may not be an administrator. And so ring fencing allows you to limit those controls even further. And you may wonder well, why do we care, right? If we're limiting what programs can run, then why do we care about additional controls and security on that? So I'm going to share my screen and show you an example of why ring fencing is important. So give me just a second to share my screen. All right, we're going to get this loaded up here. All right. So this is just an example application. Through our application whitelisting program, I made sure that I was authorized on this computer to run this program as an administrator, and not any other program, right? So I can come in here and right click on this notepad shortcut and select to run as an administrator. And it's going to pop up here It's going to flash for a second while my application whitelisting program says, okay, let me check and see if you're authorized to run this. It's going to examine the file, and it's going to say, yep, you're authorized to run it. It's going to open up. So this program is running as an administrator and has administrative controls and authorizations on the computer. So now why ring fencing is important is from this program now, this is a text document, right? A text editor, pretty basic program. Seems pretty harmless on my computer, right? Well, if I come in and say open from inside this application and go to my program files, right? So here's my list of program files, and I go to maybe another program, WinSCP. All right, let's see what WinSCP, and I can right click from inside of here and now run that program as an administrator. And guess what? It's just going to open as an administrator. It's not going to ask me if I have permissions or need permissions or to enter permissions. It's going to run because it's running from an admin authorized application that's saying, okay, now run this one also as an admin. And that permission gets carried from one application to the other and could be an application that you don't want running as an admin. One that maybe gets a bad actor that has access to the system, the ability to go laterally within the network or spread malicious things or run ransomware or other things. So if there's an app that can be run, it can be used to spread other bad software, bad things that you don't want running on your computer or on your network. So that's an example of what ring fencing can help prevent. So if I had ring fencing enabled on my system here, and I said, I only want Notepad to run, and I don't want anything else to run as an administrator, then when I try to do that, it's going to block it. It's going to say, nope, that's exceeding your permissions. We're not going to let you run that other thing. So hopefully that explains a little bit more about what ring fencing can help prevent, right? It just limits. Think about it like application firewall rules, right? It's basically saying like this application can do these things and nothing outside of it, right? So you can't then expand what is authorized into something that maybe shouldn't be authorized. So ring fencing is a fairly new technique out there. There's only a handful of software tools that will allow you to implement ring fencing in a fairly easy to manage way. When I say easy, I mean an IT professional easy. I don't necessarily mean an end user easy, right? There is a lot of technical stuff on the back end to make these things work. But that's ring fencing. That's what it prevents and why you need it in your organization to make sure you're not allowing lateral access to those applications that do need to run as an administrator. All right. Before I get to any questions, I do want to remind we do have a webinar coming up. It's Cybersecurity Month, so no surprise. The topic's going to be cybersecurity related. We're going to talk about the top newsworthy cybersecurity breaches of 2022, and we're going to talk about how you can avoid them, things that you can implement and tricks and steps such as ring fencing, right, to help prevent those. So we'll give some specific examples of cyber attacks this year, and then we'll give specific steps on how that could be prevented, right? We want to avoid you from being the headline like some of these other headlines we're going to discuss. So if you have any questions about that, you can send me a direct message, contact us through our website, iTNet.works. You can comment to this, we'll respond. I will make sure that we post in the comments a registration link so that you can register for that webinar. It's good. It should be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to some of the webinars we do. It's like, okay, yeah, it's something we need to cover. This is one that I'm actually excited about. Anytime we get to talk about cybersecurity attacks, like ones that have actually happened, and kind of get into what happened and how it happened, to me, that's kind of fun and interesting to talk about. So hopefully it's the same for you. All right, let's see. Go to the comments. Oh, I should add, starting today, we're going live on YouTube. You may have noticed that in my intro. So we're going on Facebook, my personal Facebook, company Facebook, personal LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as now our YouTube channel. So if you're follow us on YouTube, I'll make sure that we put a link in the comments to our YouTube channel so you can subscribe to us there. Just one other way that you can get this information from us. We have other videos on our YouTube channel as well that we've done in the past, kind of tips and tricks and how-tos that might be helpful to you. So those of you that are watching, thanks again. I don't see any questions coming through. So if any other questions come up, you know how to reach me. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.